Fantastic stuff in game number 1. A nice neck-and-neck game. We'll see if game number 2 going to move at breakneck speed. Let's get right on into it. Trifecta will have the first pick, and of course the first ban as well.
I don't expect them to really change much here. The Pele for Scary D was solid. He had a 2-level lead for a majority of the game up against fineokay, and a lot of it came down to the rotations that he made, being able to influence, and it was a different build entirely compared to Scream's Pele. No Gladiator Shield, no Soul Leader this time, up against the Baron Samedi, instead going for the Runic Shield. A great pickup.
Just the raw protections, classic solo lane style, instead of the attention to the lifesteal as a la Kamisats. But here for Trifecta, they're going to ban out the Ratatasker and the On-Her, something we banned in game number 1 as well. CLG sticking to the meta bans, taking care of Chernobog, so no Global Hunter there, and no Global Guardian either. Athena off the mark. So TF here, Trifecta going for the first pick. Pele again? Yes, they will.
They will, but I'm expecting CLG to adapt now. They can't allow Paul to play the Freya for 2 games in a row. It was a great performance. They need to be able to synergize off of it, so they pick Fafnir, one of Jigz's go-to Guardians.
Well, next to it,
it's got to be the Freya.
It's going to be the Freya.
It has to.
Makes a lot of sense. The coerce, right? That's where you're going?
Yeah, and stripping that away from Paul, making sure that he's not going to have that great initiation, man. The whoop onto Jigz is definitely what won it for Trifecta in game 1.
Yeah, you know, Freya comes with total burst damage. The ultimate's fantastic, but Ryan said it the other day as well that Banish just might be her best ability.
Being able to set up plays, being able to force teams to disengage from objectives, it technically puts you out of plane of existence. So the Gold Furies reset, Fire Giants reset.
Ullr and Cerberus going to be banned out here. Picked up here by Trifecta. CLG won't have that Ullr at their disposal, something they do like to play. Kuzenbo banned out last game in game number 1. Now fineokay will be able to take the turtle over there into the short lane.
Something that he really enjoys playing, honestly. I'm surprised that he didn't do it in the first game before secondary ban phase. Wanted to go for a different composition with that Terra. Didn't really work out for Jigz in that first game, but I think with Fafnir, Freya, and the ability for fineokay to control fights between the Watery Grave and the Sumo Slan, this is looking like a more just solid roster from CLG.
Yeah, Pele and Ullr both going to be providing the basic attack damage that you want to reflect with Kuzenbo. Kuzenbo, I think, a great selection here in general, but specifically versus the Pele. CLG in the ban phase, taking care of NeiruMah and Robin. They want to make sure that Sanford Soccer doesn't repeat his performance as he did in game number 1. Whereas Trifecta going to ban out the Izanami that we've seen rising in popularity and success, and the Naja, who despite recent changes, still a strong choice in his own right. CLG's jungler Homiefe will play Awilix.
Okay, so the Awilix is an interesting selection now. Looking for some setup off of the Kuzenbo Watery Grave. Not the greatest, you know, it's a very miniature knockup. It's not like the biggest knockup where you get a Sobek block or a Sobek tail flip, but still can set up himself very well. Thor is going to be the selection for Sanford Soccer. One of his staple picks.
Yeah, Thor, a nice jungle selection. Hebo, though. You want to talk about staple picks. Paul's Hebo. So when Paul was playing in the minor league, he would just play Ullr and Hebo and kind of farm. And when he transitioned into the pro league, he knew, correctly so, and I give him a lot of credit for this, that he had to pull back a little bit. He just couldn't be the hard farmer. He could not just, control games by pub stomping, essentially.
Sure.
Now, it's been a little while since he's joined the pro league, and we get a chance to see his Hebo. I'm really excited for it.
Same, honestly. Zap has been known to play Hebo from time to time in the duo lane, not necessarily in Season 5, but he has run it in the past, and knowing that Ullr is the selection, who do they want to go up against Freya in that mid lane? Ullr, Hebo, neither one of them wanting to get too close to the Freya.
That's true. That is very true. Across the way, Ho-Yi, the last selection for Counter Logic Gaming. Will CLG be able to take game number 2 and bring this to a third, or is Trifecta just going to end it here? That's the question we've got on our minds. I think Trifecta, after the performance in game number 1, especially with some of the selections that they've got here, Toli, I think Trifecta have the wind in their sails.
Outside of winning game one to bring momentum for game 2, I think the pick composition between Thor, Ullr, and even Cerberus, you got the water carpet from Trifecta. I like the team fights for Trifecta specifically.
Well, we've certainly got our eyes on the left side of the screen, but game on the way. Finch and Taco on the call. Counter Logic Gaming, Trifecta, game number 2.
Game 2, ladies and gentlemen, coming in. Trifecta up against CLG. Trifecta making the comeback and put the hurting on the CLG. Can they do it here again, or can CLG force that game 3? Well, Taco, they're going to have the Kuzenbo to try and slow it down for him this time.
NeiruMah already under a lot of pressure, as you can tell. He's trying his best to get a little bit of return aggression here up against Snoopy and Jigz, but it's getting a little bit complicated here. Things are already fairly frisky. Zapman going to be off the mark with that one.
Heading right back to the purple buff in response. In fact, no. They're going to go to the red buff first. It looks like here for them. Going to grab that one for themselves. Sorry, Paul. No farm for you, sir. In fact, that's going to be going the way of the dual lane.
Paul doesn't really need the red buff as the Habois in the early game, especially knowing that he's against Hurriwind, who's with this Ho-Yi. It's a hunter. He's probably going to be at a slight disadvantage for the early game clear. Better off giving that red buff to Zapman, because that way Zap can utilize it a bit better to get some good poke up against Jigz and Snoopy. Taking a Freya into the dual lane leaves her fairly exposed, and I think with the red buff, once that axe stun connects, you know the bladed arrow and the hail of arrow combo is going to be there.
Right. I'm right there with you, Taco. If you're going to pick this Ullr, then you got to go for some pressure in that dual lane. That's really the only way to do it. So that's really going to be the plan here from Zapman and Neil. Try and put some hurt onto the dual lane of CLG. But if we can talk about this solo lane a bit, Scary D, I think, had a big impact, but it wasn't quite what Scream did, right, in set 1. It wasn't like he was 12-0-1. Do you still like them first picking this overall for Scary D? I feel like his performance is certainly great on it, but I mean, was it worth going that high?
I don't think you can go wrong with the Pele first pick right now.
Sure.
I think that is, it's more so a pick Pele first because it's ambiguous as to whether or not it's going to be jungle or solo, because you never know. Sam could just switch it up and decide to take the Pele for himself. She just provides enough burst right now that I think you can certainly justify having her as a first pick selection.
Okay, then the all-in commit, and it's going to work. Sam gets half his health taken, but a two-man stun with the wall. Hurriwind jumps in aggressively, but Sam is already repositioned. They're not going to be able to find the kill here. Homie does want to get the turnaround to Paul. The body blocks are perfect, but first blood goes to Trifecta. Hurriwind will answer back, but Trifecta makes Sam pay, or Hurriwind, rather.
Hurriwind, though, he's stuck in a bit of an awkward place right now. That ricochet would have connected as well, so he will delay. Paul's back in the end, but now Scary D, he's made the rotation. Hurriwind all by himself here. Won't end up getting knocked up, but Scary D...
Scary D's so fast.
There's no escaping this time, Hurriwind.
No, there's just no chance. The Pele is just too fast. You see how quickly he zoomed up to Hurriwind. Now Hurriwind doesn't have boots. He's extra slow, and Scary D had full warrior tab eye as well, but it was... The difference was astonishing in their movement speed.
We might actually have to consider a Sonic the Hedgehog skin.
That's a great idea.
I don't know who we've got to talk to, but we need to make this happen. Pele is going fast. Way too fast.
Faster.
She is insanely fast. She's Usain Bolt fast.
That's pretty fast. That's historically fast, and Pele has been getting it done, at least so far when we've seen her. Maybe some troubles when we saw her played in Europe, but United able to get great value out of her. Scary D with some great blink plays last game, and just now punishing some of the over-aggression there from Hurriwind and Homie.
You know, I just thought about, what if we did Smite Cars 2, but we called it Too Fast, Too Furious with Pele as the cover image?
And then instead of cars, everyone is just Pele?
It's just Pele.
Yeah, zooming around, right? I'd play that.
I feel like it would work.
And zip around the map, yeah. And there'd be like the drums.
The drums is actually a pretty intense beat. That's actually one of the more fun parts about having that steroid procced for the movement speed. But getting back on track here and away from our Smite Cars 2 fun times. I do like what Trifecta have done outside of that initial aggressive moment on their speed buff. I don't think there's really a whole lot left for Sam or Paul to really try and defend. Hurriwind and Homiefe with the Ho-Yi Awilix just going to have a little bit more pressure in the early game. I think that this is something we mostly want to keep an eye out for in terms of Sam's farm against that of Homiefe, because last time Homie got a little bit of an edge over Sam, at least throughout the early to mid game, but Sam was able to recover that once the team fight stages were turned around into Trifecta's favor.
Right, and Sam had to make a bit of a sacrifice to Scary D's benefit, and I think that's part of why he ended up behind, but you're absolutely right, as the hammer doesn't quite hit home. But these are both two junglers we don't see much more of anymore, right? We don't see a ton of Awilix, we don't see a ton of Thor nowadays. And I like what Homie was doing, recognizing he had to play aggressive as skirmishes will force out the ultimate from fineokay. They tried to force that speed buff invade. They tried to use Awilix's early game where Feather Step just hits so hard.
What's also interesting about this Awilix pickup is that it's really only Zapman that I think Homiefe wants to pay much mind to. This is the anti-Ullr selection. If you ever wanted to try and kill an Ullr, you can't have a better ability than Gravity Surge, because as a non-CC immune hunter, Ullr will be forced to lose his purification beads every single time, and then that opens up the doorway for CLG to further apply pressure onto Zapman with just other forms of CC. And I think that's why we see Jigz on this Fafnir for Snoopy and Hurriwind, because the intent here is to follow up every single time Homiefe strong-arm Zapman out of the fight.
And he'll be able to punish him quite effectively. Well, Homie, as long as he can be there in position. We'll have to follow along with him and Suku a little bit more to see what kind of impact they can have. But the double hunter composition paired with the Fafnir, or at least the double auto attack composition paired with that Fafnir, could prove pretty scary for Trifecta to try and deal with. Once this Hoi and this Freya start to get online, and AoE, of course, is coming out and all that control, Trifecta could be in trouble.
No real surprises either. Zap's going to end up losing that purple buff.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have much of a chance to try and defend it, but Snoopy, now looking for the damage
Can't
out
jump.
onto Zapman, uses the
idea.
beads preemptively, but now Homiefe has a guaranteed pull should Zap be forced out of position again.
That was great recognition for him, though, because he was certainly dead to rights if he just jumped normally there and he gotten pulled back in. And even if he had beads, you know, it would have interrupted his jump path and definitely set up for Snoopy and Homiefe to try and punish, so I love the idea.
Sometimes if you beads a little bit too soon, you can actually get caught at the end of that gravity surge or at the end of your leap, and that's never a fun time. Right when you think you're about to get away and then suddenly you're pulled back to where you didn't want to be in the first place, it's just not fun here. But NeiruMah now hoping to get a little bit of return lane pressure there, going for Zap. Will head on over here and help him farm away. I think this is what I want to see more of from Neil as well. Maybe just trying to pay a little bit more attention towards duos. Zap was kind of left on his own in the last match, and it just so happened to work out for Trifecta, but I feel as though it's a risk that they don't necessarily need to take.
And it's going to be even harder this time with the Cerberus as opposed to the Geb. The few times that Neil was able to be there for him, he was able to save him very, very well with the shields, shockwaves, and cataclysm all at his disposal. Cerberus can still be strong, but maybe not the same as CLG want to be here for the red buff invade. Homie gets absolutely chunked. Axe waiting on Jigz when he lands for Draconic Corruption. So the red buff invade is not safe to defend against 3.
Great job there by Paul and skirmishes rotation that prevented Hurriwind from coming in to try and assist CLG on that red buff invade. Now with everybody so low, Sam's gonna come crashing down right on top of Snoopy.
The bandit's not going to land, so he has to go up into the air with Valkyrie's discretion. I got to wonder if Sam wanted Homie there, but it doesn't matter. Paul comes through with the crushing wave. It's too much water. And Snoopy ends up having to go back to base. Now Jigz has got to run for his life, and he'll make it back to the tower. But can we see the same for these jungle buffs?
Purple will go in the way, or will go to NeiruMah there, Trifecta with a successful invade of their own. And in fact, their own purple buff has it respawn here, so Zap going to get double the XP benefits. And more importantly, all this farm while Snoopy is dead.
Yeah, that's going to hurt the dual lane even more. And you want this Freya to be able to get as farmed as she can, as Homie just barely survives the damage from Scary D. But all of that is on the back of the defense of that red buff invade, right, Taco? Where it's kind of mostly Paul and not Paul, but Zapman and Neil there trying to defend it up against it, and Paul, who won't let some help come in from mid lane. Then the counter initiation off, that's huge for Trifecta.
Zap finding the poke damage onto Homiefe is what really stopped that red buff invade right in its tracks. There's no way that CLG are going to feel comfortable pushing any further with Paul playing zone duty onto Hurriwind, Scary D making the rotation that fineokay is probably spam communicating to his team to look out for. And then Neil as well, with the Ghastly Breath to trip away the protections. I think it just made things a little bit too one-sided there for CLG to want to stick around, but the fact that Trifecta chose to run them down and then look to punish CLG even further for having stepped up in the first place is what I really enjoy seeing, because that is just veteran experience, I think, from Trifecta. I'm not sure who made the shot call on that one. It might have been Zapman because he seemed to be leading the charge there, but Trifecta just need to continue capitalizing on CLG whenever they do overextend.
And Sam is starting to look more and more comfortable for this Trifecta roster too, Taco, which I think is huge. And I don't think this roster need for Sam to be 100% what Mask was, right? Mask was was so much of a big catalyst for them. They played through him so often, but they've got superstars here. I mean, they've got Paul, who's been playing out of his mind lately. Scary D is looking better and better. Zapman as well. Sam just needs to be able to do his job, and he's been doing his job excellently for them. He found a bunch of two-man stuns this game with the wall. He was playing great for them last game. He's the one that set up that stun that eventually punished Snoopy. Just great for them. Great. It's been great for Trifecta to have Sam so far.
What I'm a little bit confused about, Finch, is I guess that CLG's draft feels very awkward to me. I'm not sure who is really meant to try and take care of Paul from this team, because if Homiefe wants to try and come in onto Paul, he has to get within melee range. That's where Habwa functions best, is when you're up close and personal. That's what he wants you to be anyway.
Right.
And same thing for Snoopy. Habwa kind of just the Freya killer, or always been regarded as that squishy burst killer because of how quickly a crushing wave can just switch up a team fight. Speaking of which, Paralyzed Spit gonna connect there onto Hurriwind, forces out the shell from Jigz even, and Paul, with these follow-ups and the constant poke, it's going to just pose a whole series of issues here for Hurriwind to try and deal with, because CLG, quite frankly, just weren't able to punish Paul early enough. Now, he's level 11, almost to that secondary relic, has hardly had, I don't even think he's had to use his purification beats once so far.
He's been relatively safe, but Taco, I'm with you in terms of not seeing exactly what his CLG wants to do. I think the Homiefe, Fafnir, Freya obviously makes a ton of sense, right? They're going to have a ton of damage. Freya can even do a little bit beyond just a single target, depending on how she uses her abilities. But we'll have to hold that thought. Snoopy in a lot of trouble. He goes up into the air with Valkyrie's discretion, but where can he come back down? Zapman perfectly waiting on him, and the Freya gets punished. He does steer them away from the rest of his team, though, so it will only be one kill.
Zap had no concerns, though, the entire time. He didn't feel pressured out to jump away, stayed in the area, and just forced his Snoopy to try and look for the trade-out kill, but there's no chance of that happening. And now, with Snoopy dead, Trifecta, they're just going to look at the Gold Fury, and this is free all day long, Finch.
No one there from CLG to contest it, and when you take down the Hunter, a lot of the times that's kind of what opens up that door, right? As Snoopy did get punished on the dual lane side. But now we're starting to really, I feel like, have some questions about CLG. This game's not over, but, you know, in game one, they kind of let that one get away from them. They got punished on the Gold Fury, and Trifecta kind of had the pressure from there. Now in this game, Trifecta's doing a great job here in the early game. I mean, are CLG that top 3 team, that top 3 or 4 team we keep saying they are, if, you know, they can't keep closing out these games?
I really am not certain or feeling very confident in placing CLG at that level right now, Finch.
Right.
I think that all of these roster changes that have taken place for a lot of these teams seems to be benefiting all of them.
Yeah.
And that was CLG's time to shine, I feel, to show that their past team synergy is better than these newly formed ones. And yet we see all the other teams from North America that made the roster swaps only further progressing themselves, and CLG have kind of stagnated a bit. There is a lot of name power on this team. There is a lot of star power, in fact, on this team, but it doesn't really seem as though they've figured out how to make it come out every single time.
But this is a great call to recognize that they had this solo side of the map where they could go for the Pyromancer. That's an objective for CLG to keep them in this game. But are they going to be here to defend if Trifecta try and force down this tier 1? Looks like for now, Jigz was enough to force them back. They aren't going to keep it up. So really, they don't get punished at all on that. Just great recognition from CLG that they had time to burst that down.
Trifecta just biding their time, though. This is a little bit of the same pace that we saw from the last game, or at least a very similar vibe. But this time around, it's CLG paying their respects to Trifecta, not looking to overextend any further after that initial failed red buff invade. We have seen CLG be a little bit more attentive towards where they can and can't choose to step up toward. I just have so many concerns, though, about this Paul Habwa pick that he's been able to get away with it time and time again.
That's right. We were kind of thinking when he initially came from the minor league, right, that, yeah, Paul looks great there, but he played some of these, like, kind of pub stompy gods that have to snowball really far ahead. He's not going to be able to do that in the SPL. But I don't know. I don't think Paul has looked particularly bad for the Trifecta roster since he came up. He's looked great. And playing a lot of that same style. He's had to tone it back some, for sure. He can't just, you know, band cross rush and try and invade your red buff every game like he did in the minor league, but he certainly still has that aggression there at the core. and is getting it done for this team.
But Paul having this much pressure in mid just allows Sam to free farm on Thor. He's practically uncontested on these mid Harpies, and there's only so much that Hurriwind can do with the Ho-Yi.
We'll see if he can try and keep it up. They need the Ho-Yi on this one because they are going to be going with the Freya Ho-Yi, and they might be lacking for some AoE damage. They might not get too punished for that here with this comp, but he definitely helps with it. But you were saying earlier that you didn't really get what maybe what the cohesive strategy was from this team. Maybe it's around these objectives. We did see them burn down the Pyromancer that was without Snoopy, but that's something they'll keep getting better at. They can burn down these towers if they can try and force that to happen, as Snoopy has his beads forced out and the ultimate.
Great patience there from Zap, but Snoopy was just waiting the whole time. Aegis will end up buying him just a little bit more so, but Zapman now could have things turned around. Ate just too much poke off of that tower shot, but no, in fact, instead it's Snoopy who's going to end up taking out Sam for soccer instead, sacrificing his own life so Zapman can get away.
And Neil can't find the paralyzing spit either, so he can't kill Snoopy. Hurriwind rotates in, finds the double ricochet, and Homiefe finds the kill. That's huge for CLG to get 2 kills in response off of a little bit too much aggression there in that duo lane. I think once they initially didn't have the axe anymore, they had to give up on that one.
Signs of life, though, from CLG. That was an excellent response, probably the only real response we've seen this entire match so far. And it did come with a price. Snoopy won't have either of those relics available, so he'll probably have to watch himself a little bit better inside of the jungle. But for the most part, that's about as much of a win as CLG could have possibly came up with, because there's not too much action taking place over there in solo. We've seen a couple of attempts from Homiefe to try and get a gank going on Scary D, but it's hard as an Awilix when there is no immediate setup for you.
There's not really in this composition, either not from her own team or from the opposition team jumping very often, right? So there's just not a ton of it there. So Homie's got to try and brute force it to make it happen. But look at this. Zapman backed and got that 3rd item Magai's Cloak. We see them kind of early, but I wonder if the no relics forced his hand, as that does keep him from getting banished just now.
Beautiful by Sam, just pinging out Homiefe. Perfect. No chance of survival. The beads had already been burned out there, and now Snoopy, he's stuck underneath his T1 tower, and the only reason why Trifecta are here in the first place is because that Gold Fury has respawned.
Scary D was here as well, but he was on the retreat path rather than trying to set up for the team. But now the 5v4 is perfect. If this had been moments ago where CLG just got that double kill, maybe this would be them, but the timing just favoring Trifecta a little bit. Now they're going to pull this Gold Fury back. Everyone from CLG's nearby. Ultimates are available. Relics for Hurriwind if they want to try and get in, but Trifecta are forcing this down.
Gold Fury now stuck at 10%, but there's no way they're going to out-secure Habois. In fact, Sunbreaker will be used by Hurriwind, and Scary D could be in a tight spot here, but he's just going to ult away, create a little bit of distance between himself and the rest of CLG. Are just forced to stop and watch.
Trifecta, man, that time, even though it was the 5v4, they were very confident in their ability to secure the Gold Fury. They do it right in the face of Counter Logic Gaming and maintain the lead that they've established for themselves out in front. CLG trying to find something on the back end, but Scary D can soak up this damage.
And CLG don't have a choice, though. They can show their presence, but they can never be the ones to hard initiate there onto Trifecta. There's only 4 of them left to respond. I like this, though. Paul going to be forced to crushing a wave away. And Sam with another excellent wall, going to also create a little bit of space there for his mid laner. T1 tower, though, looks like it's going to fall any second here.
Scary D wants to come back in, though. He teleported to this, and he doesn't really have much support. Scary D gets deleted. fineokay is the one that finds the kill. Tier 1 tower goes down as well. Beads have to come out from Sam to avoid the ult. And that really did not work out for Trifecta.
That just felt stubborn from Scary D and
yes.
Unnecessary. It's a T1 tower. Let that 500 gold go. You just got the Gold Fury. Your team is looking for the backs, and now CLG, because of that, they're feigning for the Pyromancer because they wanted the Fire Giant all along, and this is the composition that can burn it. NeiruMah is going to spot it out, but it might be too little too late.
It is very, very low right now in CLG's favor. They've got Neil controlled. Counter Logic Gaming secure the objective, but what about the fight? 3 members controlled, and a 2-man wall there for the follow-up. The Suns should create some space. Can Trifecta punish on the back end without the axe? I don't think so. CLG get away with murder, but maybe not Homie.
Homie still looking for the runaway. He has Suku any second now, trying to hold on to it, but Paul's going to spot him out pretty quickly here. I think this might be the end of Homiefe, Finch. 1 wall should confirm it, but he'll make sure to take out the towers, or the back Harpies.
Almost gets the trade on the Sam for soccer there on the back end. Very cheeky to kill those camps and try and get some healing there to top himself off, but unfortunately, Homie will pay the price for the Fire Giant for the rest of the squad. Still a win, though, I would say, for CLG, Taco. What about you on that one? Pyromancer on 4, or Fire Giant, rather, is still pretty big.
No doubt, Finch. That is worth it. Even if 2 members of CLG had ended up dying there, that still would have been a huge win for the squad, just because it's another objective that Trifecta can't take. And Trifecta were already just starting to pull away with this one. It just doesn't really make much sense. That play falls onto Scary D.
Yeah,
there's
the
no
teleport.
reason for Scary D to have suicide in the way that he did. Should have just accepted and cut his losses with losing the T1 tower, because 1 death is all it takes. CLG have a very strong composition for burning objectives because of the Freya, Fafnir, Hoyi, and Awilix to a certain extent as well.
Yes.
So I just don't really understand why Scary D chose to try and make that last defense underneath the T1 tower, maybe expecting that the other members of Trifecta would be a little bit closer, but Paul was on the retreat, and you already know that the Habois damage is not going to be a factor in any sort of engagement for at least 2 minutes.
He had to ult to disengage, I believe, right, Paul?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
I mean, there just wasn't much chance for any follow-up. Sam was nearby, but, I mean, just the Thor and the Pele there up against 4 members for a tier 1. I'm right there with you. I just don't know if there was enough value for it. Now, Scary D, what I'm thinking is that maybe he didn't have enough information to know whether or not that was worried, and you have to make that call so quickly about whether or not to try and teleport in time to defend, that it ends up just not working for them. But now CLG are the ones with the Fire Giant, with all the momentum, and can even try and force down this tier 2.
it's some rough stuff for Trifecta, but they'll probably still make do. Zapman going to end up losing that Mad Guy's Cloak from the Whoop proc out of Snoopy, and Sunbreaker has been expended. Hurriwind trying to run away right now from Paul, and I think Sam's actually up in the air.
He is trying to close that distance towards Hurriwind. The hammer taps for good damage, but they can't lock him down any more than that. Meanwhile, Homie is just burning down the towers all by his lonesome on the solo side of the map. That is 1,500 gold going the way of CLG, essentially for free.
Wonderful diversion, though, from CLG. Just throw everybody onto one side of the map, and Homiefe can go to the next. And now Homie looking to, I think, wrap around here. Going to push out that wave in mid first and foremost, just to make sure that they get a little bit more split lane pressure. Zapman right now, the only one really looking to defend. He'll actually end up jumping over the wall to try and save his speed buff for his jungler.
Gotta be careful so if you win this fight. Aegis has been expended. Speed has already dropped. Tier 2 tower in left is going to fall as well as Trifecta give up on the defense, and Homie makes it out. And remember, Hurriwind was under duress earlier. He didn't have to use any relics. He is still perfectly good to go to fight, even though he doesn't have the ultimate. This all around is a win for CLG as they grab those tier 2 towers.
Those T2s are just going to buy a little bit of fluff space for CLG, and a chance for them to get ahead, because I think that gold is probably one of the better ways for them to start pulling these fights more into their favor. XP-wise, Trifecta are still close enough to where the only real deterrence would probably be the itemization not being so much in their favor, because one side having a completed Titan's Bane in comparison to Zapman, who still just got only the mace, it's a pretty significant difference in damage. And I highly doubt that Trifecta are going to feel all that comfortable with aggressing into CLG again, at least not until this next Fire Giant respawn. Then we might see a little bit of a dance occurring between the two teams, but so far that was the best recovery option that CLG could have possibly had, and it all came at the expense of Scary D.
That play definitely haunting Trifecta right now as Homie has built up the most significant lead, I would say, over his direct opposition over Sam. All that free farm he got by himself, I think, was huge, as Sam was kind of stuck in between trying to decide where to defend. It's about a full Bumbas. That's the real difference between those two junglers right now. Homie was able to get that completed, and he'll be zipping around the map. Might be a little bit more vulnerable, but with the lead that they have out in front, maybe he's okay with it. Fire Giant should be responding shortly, and Trifecta kind of bullying their way onto the actual pit itself. They want to make sure they're here to defend.
These 3 Mad Guy's Cloaks, by the way, are not
Huge.
Unintentional. This is because Homiefe is already struggling as is to find setup for the gravity surges, because realistically, I don't think we've seen a single gravity surge used by Homiefe in a team fight.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen one pulled at the very least. Maybe we've seen it used to like force beads once or twice, but I'm right there with you. We have not seen it to kind of set anything up for them yet. They have all game long to try and find a chance, but I think Homie's recognized that he's just not going to be able to have the impact he wanted. He is just the split push king right now.
Sam going to look to play defense against this Homiefe left Phoenix attempt, but that puts Trifecta in a really tight spot here, and Homie recognizes there's no reason for him to stick around any longer. He is going to beat Sanford back to the engagement in no time at all.
Well, Fire Giant's been leashed, at least for now. They're going to take the fight instead. Good damage from Paul, but everybody's dancing in the suns. They got to watch out. It's going to be a little bit too hot. The whoop banishes Paul, pulls him back in. Stygian Torment does control a couple, but Snoopy has already removed the Hubwa from the fight.
Paul just wanted to go forward with that crushing wave because damage is all he had left at 10% health. Hurriwind going to make quick use of taking down Scary D, and a nice wall from Sam's going to end up trapping NeiruMah into the fray. Poor NeiruMah had no chance of escape there, but it was a great wall from Sam to try and save the life of himself and Zapman.
And now Zapman's in some trouble too. Has to use beads and Aegis just to get back to try and defend this Phoenix, but CLG, 5 members still healthy, are not going to relent, not just yet. Hurriwind looking more for the damage than for the Phoenix damage. He's going to end up trading his life away. That means they will still get the right side Phoenix, but a great turnaround from Trifecta to at least punish Hurriwind. They'd like to have his damage, I think, right now.
Hurriwind with some mild regrets at the moment for...
Got to pay Scary D back, right? Pay it forward, you know?
A little bit, yeah. We'll go with that one. But right now, Sanford still wanting to keep the members of CLG in the area, and I think this is because everybody from Trifecta has had a chance to respawn. Now Zapman, though, could end up getting caught out here. Gravity Surge going to pull him right back in.
There it is.
Beautiful Feather Step as well, just to get all that burst damage off. But with Paul coming up, it could be Sam catching everybody off guard with this Thor ultimate.
Looks like the target's going to be Jigz. He lands the hammer and the stun, but no wall for the follow-up. He's incredibly low. He's got to be careful. Scary D on the backside, looking for Homie. Follows up with the ultimate, and will find a kill. CLG a little bit sticking around too much. This is what Zapman gave his life for. And now Trifecta, they're going to start up this Fire Giant even without their Hunter. They have enough damage. Snoopy is going to be nearby for this.
Snoopy won't be able to contest it by himself, though. Paul can kill Snoopy the second that he tries to come in here. All Snoopy can hope to do is look for a steal, but Snoopy's going to eat a ton of damage from the Fire Giant alone and just get obliterated in seconds here. I don't think that Snoopy was expecting the knockup to strike him.
Instead, he gets controlled, can't steal away the objective, and can't find any kills. Critically, the Fire Giant buff will not be on Zapman, perhaps the most important person for Trifecta to have it, but they strip it away from CLG. They have it on 4 members, and now a chance for them to be the ones that push and get some gold.
See, I'm on the opposite end of that, Finch, because I feel like Zap right now, his only duty is to just look at the towers, attack the Phoenixes, and that is it. He doesn't need to be the star of the show. This is all Paul's territory. He has to run this game, and that's where all of Trifecta's damage is getting put into. I think it is a situation of all their eggs into the Paul basket of Hubwa.
Absolutely. I mean, they wouldn't mind having it in terms of like sieging the structures, but you're right. Right now, Paul feels like the star of this show. If they're going to do well, it's going to be on the back of all this Hubwa damage. They should get this tier 1 in mid without any trouble, but can Trifecta afford to keep sieging? The right side is still exposed. There should be fire minions pouring through, and look at Homie. I think that's what the plan is to try and go push this wave up.
Homie just wants to keep Trifecta's base threatened by these fire creeps, because if CLG can make it so that Trifecta aren't allowed to back, then maybe Homie could look to end the game by himself. But of course, after the Goal Fury, everybody from Trifecta just looking to head on home. Scary D will be playing defense though and clear out those fire minions. They should get their right Phoenix back, no problem.
Right, they should be able to defend this. And look at the gold, Taco. That's been all but normalized at this point in the game. Zapman has sold off his Hunter's Blessing, and Snoopy still has his. But aside from that, everyone's essentially caught up in terms of where they are in their build pass. This game is virtually even right now when it was out in front of CLG. Now, they got to be careful backing. There's a lot of CLG members nearby. Sam doesn't recognize they're there. A hammer to get him away. Scary D stops the back to find the knockups, and that will force everyone away. Sam's going up into the air. I think they want this fight.
They want Snoopy, that's for sure. Sam, though, already forced out of his beat just a little bit sooner, and now he's going to end up losing the Aegis as well. Nice wall, though, going to end up buying him some time there into Homiefe, and Homiefe not going to be able to confirm the kill.
Sam was the perfect bait. That's 2 quick kills for Trifecta. NeiruMah going to control fineokay, pull him in the tower range, but do they have the damage to bring down the turtle, despite how stealthy he might be? They land the stun, the knockups there. Scary D on a killing spree. 3 now for Trifecta as they turn things around one more time. CLG just can't seem to close it out.
Homiefe might be looking to challenge Sam one more time, though, on this right-hand side. The Phoenix is going to respawn here, and that's why we see Sam pushing out the last of these fire waves, while the rest of Trifecta just run it right down the mid lane. I don't think they'll have enough time to take a Phoenix here, Finch, but they should, at the very least, get these towers. If
they commit 2 members to Sam for soccer, then I think they will. In fact, Sam might even be able to do more than just keep them busy if he can get close enough to Homie. A great stun to slow him down. Homiefe will find the kill, but that's tier 2 tower down, and I don't think they're going to back in time. Sam has died, but earned a Phoenix for Trifecta.
It seemed odd for Sam to challenge that, but he only challenges there because even if he dies, it is worth.
Yes.
All the worth in the world for Trifecta to continue that push down the mid lane and expose that part of the map, because now CLG, they can't afford to be reckless with these jungle engagements. I am doubtful that they'll be very comfortable with contesting the next Fire Giant, because if 2 members wipe from CLG, I think Trifecta end this game.
They absolutely have the damage to get it done between this Habwa and the Ullr for Paul and Zapman, respectively. But I'm loving it from Sam right now, man. His performance has been great. Do I think he's still a little bit slower than the SPL pace? Maybe a little bit. I think there have been some times where he wasn't quite sure exactly what to do, but for the most part, he has looked great for this team, hasn't he?
Growing pains for Sam,
I think that's fair to say, yes.
I think that he has meshed here a little bit better than his previous, or his last SPL performance really was getting to play with Eager, but that was such a sudden drop-in, being tossed into competitive play more than halfway through a split. It's never an easy task for somebody to take up here. I think that we are seeing a better defined Sam for soccer because he does have a little bit more of that player knowledge and experience under his belt from all the time that he amassed in the minor league.
You're exactly right, and it's not just he's coming in halfway through the split, but this is a team with real aspirations towards the end of the split, right? They were essentially a 3rd place team here in North America, right there next to Space Station Gaming in spring and summer. So this wasn't a team where he could just kind of come in and coast through. This team wants to win. If you're in a team with Zapman on it, they're trying to win. And I feel like Sam has kind of accepted that responsibility. I still not right there all the way yet, but he's looking better every time I see him.
There's been a lot of talks about who the actual secondary team, best team in North America actually is right now, and honestly, Finch, I think it's all up for grabs.
Yes.
Outside of first place, that E United is very clearly dominated. Anything could happen from this point forward.
Any team has a right to claim it. That's why everyone has to be so perfect, and all these matches are so important. CLG, this would be a good time to try and force this fight on the right-hand side, because Phoenix in left is taking some poke from some minions, and I think Trifecta might be recognizing it. In fact, look at Homie. I think he's considering trying to burn it down quickly while the rest of his team does the FG. And Trifecta, they got to respond quickly. Where will they go?
Right now, it's Scary D who's left to play base defense there for the left side Phoenix, just making sure that Homiefe isn't still sticking around, but that's the best member to send that way.
Absolutely.
Because Scary D, he's got that upgraded teleport. He can be in the action in a second. All Trifecta have to do is stall just a little bit for him, and he'll be able to rotate over. And sure enough, now with the threat of the creep waves eliminated from the left-hand side, Scary D going to start walking his way back over towards the Fire Giant pit. And this is where we might see a hard disengage from CLG. They're already a little bit further back than what they probably want to be positioned right now, just trying to gauge whether or not Trifecta are actually going to commit to this fire or not.
Now remember, the wave that's pushed up is the mid-Phoenix wave for CLG. It's not too hard to defend that and be there for the Phoenix Siege as well. But that wall has cut off fineokay entirely, forces him right into the ultimate. Half HP and no big team fighting ultimate available for the solo laner.
That's a solo lane Kuzenbo, by the way. He is pretty much a tank. And he took half of his health from not even a full combo by Paul.
Jigz gets controlled this time as he is forced to jump away once more. They're able to put out some good poke. And if CLG keep kind of poking in, then Trifecta are going to keep throwing out damage until they whittle him down and start looking for the FG. They've got it pulled now. Sam goes up, so that must mean Trifecta wants to take the fight right here, right now. He's picked a target way on the back end. It's Hurriwind. He has to hammer back towards the team. Can't find much.
He just wanted that Mad Guy's cloak proc from Hurriwind, because now for the next minute or so, Hurry's going to have to play defense and use his beads if necessary, instead of just having the free beads cleanse off of the Mad Guys. And smart move from Sam. Knew that he had enough space to get away with it as well. And Zapman now looking to play mad aggressive onto Homiefe. Forces out the Suku jump even, but NeiruMah could be in a little bit of trouble here.
Sam puts it into the aggression one more time with the wall. fineokay going in. He has the ultimate back available, but controlled by the Stygian Torment right into the stun. He's still alive, but Zapman puts it into that very shortly. Homie was trying to get Paul in the back end. The knockup's there, crushing wave eradicates him from the fight. Snoopy will find NeiruMah on the back end, but Trifecta up 2-1.
Scary D now getting a nice 3-man knockup onto Hurriwind, Snoopy, and Jigz, but Hurriwind still trying to put out as much damage as possible. Zapman forced to egg his away. Snoopy, though, way too low to continue. Instead, he's going to try and ult away here, but was looking for the kill onto Zapman.
Hurriwind gets blown up by Paul. Sam for Soccer goes down in trade, but Scary D finds Snoopy. Jigz in some trouble now, and if they can find this Guardian, maybe even without him, they can just force down. Remember, the mid-Phoenix is weakened. They've taken it once already. They expect him to go back up north through the jungle, but instead, he just backed. Trifecta can't do much more from here. They can't do FG. They got it back for now and get healthy.
They can back and heal, and I think still look to pull the Fire Giant. I think they've got enough damage between Paul and Zapman for Scary D to just tank that Fire Giant for the both of them and confirm that buff onto Neil and Sam. But that fight, Finch, just deteriorated so quickly for CLG, and fineokay looked like he put in a lot of work there with that reflect damage between the thorns and just the reflect on the spikes. It was incredible to see how effective that Kuzenbo actually was, but it was a temporary effective moment because Trifecta, when they had Homiefe so split apart from the rest of the team, hoping to gank Paul, Paul just decimated Homie with that crushing wave.
Fire Giant now at half HP. Taco, I'd love to dive back into that fight, but we got another one to look at here. Stygian Torment controls 2. Homie comes on the backside, avoids the title surge, this time coming from that crushing wave. But how far can he run? Homiefe barely gets away from the bladed arrow, but Scary D not done chasing yet. Fire Giant had to be leashed, but Trifecta want the fight.
Zapman wants fineokay, but Zapman could be biting off a little bit more than he can chew right now. Recognizes it and does leap away in the end there. Under half health, so this Ullr's got to head back to base. Same as Snoopy, pretty much, or Homiefe, excuse me. And now it's one more time just a stalemate between these two teams. They've been hovering this Fire Giant for the past 7 minutes, Finch, and still unable to comfortably pull away on either side.
Very, very even between these two teams right now, Taco, but I like what you were saying about that last fight. fineokay did a ton of work for them, but I gotta wonder if maybe the lack of like real ranged like mage damage kind of hurt them there. Yes, they have the Freya, but I mean if they have like just a big mage ult ability to kind of capitalize on all the work fineokay did, that might be the difference, because everyone was kind of low, but Paul deletes Homie on the back end and never really pays for being that low.
Keep in mind also that was Paul not connecting with the crushing wave. Had he hit Homie with the crushing wave, then Homie dies before he has a chance to even get half as far as he did with that escape route. But CLG, I definitely think that they're missing out on that mage damage. The worst part is they probably have been able to confirm the Fire Giant by now if it wasn't for the fact that they don't have any real confirmation onto FG. They've had the advantage in terms of numbers and bodies surrounding Fire. They just don't have anybody that can out-secure Paul.
Right, and it's not that it's a bad strat to run it with these auto-attackers, but just that there is some things that you kind of give up with it. Certainly CLG understand, but they're just kind of running into that wall here right now. And that could perhaps be the problem as Trifecta try and exacerbate that issue. CLG a bit clumped up, and it looks like they might be giving up the aggressive positioning for now, but Trifecta don't have enough of an opening to start this up just yet. They're just going to look for the Pyromancer.
Homie has been looking for the flanks nonstop all game long, and that's kind of the position he's been forced into, hoping to maybe catch the backside of Trifecta. And now with everybody from Trifecta looking to collapse, no sign of Homiefe, but he'll be wrapping around right behind them.
And Zapman, the target this time, Beads gets him away from the pull. Aegis to use to immune the damage as well, but Sam finds Homie on the back end. Zapman ends up falling to the turtle. Not much he could do there. Paul trying to line up some damage of his own. Crushing wave does hit, but fineokay's still on his way out. This is big for CLG.
Sam for Soccer now left on his own accord, won't have anybody to help follow him up. Paul was just getting zoned so effectively by fineokay and Jigz that CLG are actually going to come out on top. And after 9.5 minutes, Finch, CLG finally managed to confirm the teamfight victory. But they're all sent back to base. Everybody was too low to comfortably pull away at that Fire Giant. Paul could contest, but I doubt that he wants to risk dying for it. I think that we can expect to see Trifecta playing hard defense off of their Phoenixes, and that this Fire Giant's going to go the way of CLG.
I don't know. They're pushing down mid. Maybe they want to do tier 2 and then fall back to it. But everyone's grouping up here.
They
No
want
one's
Phoenix.
on their way to it. They want to try and burn down this Phoenix. Paul and Scary D are here. They have the big knock-up. They have some control tools trying to make this hard. But up against 5, it's just not going to be easy to defend.
That guy's Cloak proc has already been pulled. Hurriwind getting some great damage there off onto Scary D, but Paul's knock-up only going to take away in Hurriwind's health and pulled the Mad Guy's Cloak himself. Phoenix for Phoenix. Both sides have now been exposed, and Trifecta, it just feels like they're having a really tough time figuring out what to do with fineokay and Jigz.
They're just too tanky on the front line for them, and there's been a couple times where they've caught them out and they've tried to all-in commit, but they absolutely can't burn them fast enough. But CLG are going to try and burn the Fire Giant fast enough. Jigz transforming, but Scary D's in there. Scary D looks like grabs it. Trifecta have the Fire Giant. What about the fight on the back end? Paul removes Snoopy from the planet. Duncan down from Sanford Soccer sets up the double kill for Paul. Jigz low on the right-hand side. One more, this one for Zapman. 3 members down. FG for Trifecta. That just might be it.
I think that is it. There's just no point wasting your time chasing around Homiefe, and the entirety of Trifecta knows it. They're going to charge straight down into this mid lane where the weakened Phoenix is at. They don't need the creep waves. They've got plenty of healthy members instead. Hurriwind and Homiefe are going to go for their last-ditch effort, I feel, to try and take down the base race. But this is looking like it's Trifecta's Finch. I don't think there's anybody that's going to be able to stop them.
No, this one's over. Trifecta, just like that, as quickly as it began, it is all over. Game 2 in the set. Going to Trifecta. Taco, what happened? They were at the Fire Giant. It was a great fight. They got the Phoenix, but I blinked and it was over.
I might be getting ahead of myself on this one, Finch, but I don't even think we need to run an MVP poll this game. It's Scary D. It's Scary D.
For that play at the back end,
that's,
right?
That's all it
would have been
takes.
Paul for 40 minutes, right? And then that last play, it's Scary D, right? Just that easily. I mean, that's huge. Stealing the FG, I assume he was proccing the auto as well with those cones and ripping through the fight. I mean, they just get removed.
A very beneficial day for North America and Pele in comparison to EU yesterday. I just cannot believe that Scary D actually manages to outconfirm with all 5 members of CLG there. Somebody has to zone him away.
They've got it. I think they just thought that Fire Giant was free for them, that it was just going to be theirs on the back end, but unfortunately, they aren't quite able to get it, and that one gets away from them. But we got a lot of emotions here. Maybe let's get it back over to the desk and let them break that down for us. Give us the analysis.
Woo! That's the analysis right here. What a hot one. Back and forth for 40 minutes. Honestly, nobody really had a lead for an extended period of time. This was tied up the whole way through. Trifecta come through at the end off of a fantastic performance. Scary D takes the objective. And then NeiruMah sets up Paul, and he boils the team.
What a Stygian Torment. That's the Stygian Torment of time. Now, Snoopy had an opportunity to get out of that one with the Valkyrie's discretion. Both of his relics not available, but couldn't pull the trigger fast enough on that one. And with the steal from Scary D, that blew the game wide open. It was an absolute barn burner. Good performance from Trifecta, finding the 2-0 victory against CLG.
Yeah, Paul, again, I mean, you're focusing on the support NeiruMah, who was MVP for game number 1. I was excited to see Paul kind of do it one more time. Paul's Hebo was really exciting in the minor league, but it was a very pub stomp type performance. I was very concerned that he would try to replicate that performance at the Pro League, and he didn't, and I enjoyed that he stayed away from it. But totally, here he is a couple of weeks in, and Paul feels comfortable, and he brings out the Hebo again, and there it is.
And it just changes the whole dynamic and style that CLG have to bring to this table now, just having to avoid the water spout knockup, making sure that they're not going to get trapped in that water carpet, and which actually negates all of Hurriwind's Sun's ultimate, so that's also a nice little counter matchup. But it's not even Paul that's the MVP today.
No, not at all. Paul did a fantastic job there. Paul and NeiruMah wind up setting up the team and take care of the final team fight. Moments before, though, Scary D comes in and steals the objective, and right then and there, Scary D is going to earn your most valuable player on the Pele one more time. And there he is, just doing what he does.
Just building it like a traditional soul laner, not interested with the lifesteal items necessarily, which is fine, because as long as he can move closer to the enemies to find that huge knockup, that's what his team is really relying off of. Scary D doesn't get his name called off it, but when he does, it's an outstanding performance.
Yeah, Scary D is definitely one of the more improved players that I've seen in the Pro League in the past. If you guys have been following the league for a long time, you know that Scary D was one of the players I've been very critical of. By the way, that's that game-ending sequence right there.
NeiruMah just setting up Paul. Even Scary D was doing a decent amount of AoE damage by cleaving that Fire Giant.
Yeah, and Scary D was able to take care of that. Continuing and finishing my statement about Scary D, I was very critical of him in the past. I felt that he was part of the reason that the teams that he were on wasn't really winning, and then I think he doubled down. Whether or not I was proven wrong or whatever happened, he definitely improved. Comes into Season 5, looks like a superstar for Trifecta in the early stages. I was really high on Trifecta. Unfortunately, they did cool down. Now here in the fall split, Scary D one more time, kind of coming through in the clutch here. It's going to be a 2-0 win for Trifecta. Their support and their solo laner wind up with the most valuable player aspects for today's set. Let's take a look at where everybody lands up after that one. And no longer are Trifecta on the bottom. 2 wins, 4 losses. They are now above Luminosity. LG will have their opportunity to tie this up, though, as they play a little bit later. Trifecta in 5th, and Counterlogic Gaming, they are technically in 4th because of the plus-minus.